watching Cartel TV, and I'm Amelia.
Simone did a full test of the GV80 in Sydney about a month ago, and she sang praises.
And while I do trust her judgment, and I did take a quick look at the time, I really wanted to take a closer look at it myself.
I've always loved these kind of cars.
But now that I'm a mum, or should I say MILF, according to some of your comments, having a car that's spacious, safe, and rather plush is all the more appealing. However, when I first think about cars like this, my first preferences always come from Germany. I mean, sure, there are other cars,
But at this level, the Mercedes-Benz GLE, BMW X5 and Audi Q7 come to mind first.
with substantial experience with those over several generations, I thought I should see if the GV80 can crack into this tier.
And I'm going to talk about them from the perspective of a city mum who sometimes goes on longer trips, not from the perspective of someone reviewing a proper SUV.
I mean, let's be honest, most of these cars will never see any dirt roads, let alone serious off-roading conditions. Let's be real here, folks. Most of this ground clearance is for mounting curbs.
I am not going to talk about servicing costs and residual value, or the tech that can go wrong in 10 years. By that time, more than 95% of the people who buy any of these cars will be in a newer model, most often from the same manufacturer.
Let's face it, folks, what we really want to know here is if the GV80 can hold its own against some more obvious choices.
Sure, they will welcome 5 years or 50,000 kilometres of complimentary scheduled services, covering logbook services in that period, including labour, parts, lubricants and sundries, as well as a 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty and 24/7 roadside assistance, provided you don't use your GV80 for commercial applications.
Saving money and still getting luxury is a very nice bonus. But what most buyers at this level want to know is,
If it's at a lower price for the same equipment level, does that mean I lose out in other areas?
now the model I have here is the very top trim of the GV80. And no, it is not a direct competitor of the AMG version of the Mercedes GLE. It's a bit like a lesser version, but it's still packed with features.
And the looks reflect that. The GV80, much like the rest of its competitors, looks more in place surrounded by office buildings or suburban houses than in a forest.
Yep, the grille is huge, and maybe unnecessarily so, but it does look more in line here than on the G80.
I do love the elegant headlight solution and the well-measured front bumper area. The side also shows an elegant line with smart, minimalistic solutions, but the wheels draw too much attention. These are 22-inch and they are very conspicuous.
Compared to the German Trio, well, it's difficult for me to compare them in terms of looks.
Yes, it is a matter of preference, and the beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and all the other phrases you can throw in, but all of them look different, an evolution from the previous model. Maybe this is why the GV80 stands out.
It also looks different, although it obviously does borrow some solutions from the rest, although we just don't have anything to really compare it to when it comes to looks.
Maybe that's why it looks the freshest of them all. It also comes with a bit of British charm and Scandinavian minimalism, which is something we can't really say for the other cars on this list. Oh, and another thing, after looking at the BMW and Audi, the grille on the GV80 does not seem that much out of place.
This is probably the most difficult part of this video for me. You see, I love this engine.
It is the top offering of the three available, and it is a 3.5 litre twin-turbo V6 with 279 kilowatts and 530 newton metres that is available from 15,000 revs. It is a great engine, and by all reasonable means, more than enough for the GV80. It just takes 5.5 seconds to push it to 100, and it is paired with an awesome 8-speed automatic that is as smooth as it is responsive.
Honestly, I do not have a bad word for this powertrain. I just love it.
So what's the problem? Well, if you are looking for something that is at this level of performance and tech, you will not go wrong with a 3.5. The same goes for the other two options at a 2.5 four-cylinder and a 3-litre turbo diesel.
At their level of performance, they can hold their own against the main competitors. The only issue is that the main competitors have the options to go past that, like way past.
Depending on the market, you get petrol, diesel, hybrid petrol and hybrid diesel variants. Moreover, for almost all of them, you have a few options to choose from. You also get beastly V8 engines, several of which are simply a lot more powerful than the 3.5 in the GV80. So the problem is not with the 3.5 per se, it is a great engine that can deliver all you really need in everyday driving conditions.
The issue is that if you want more, Genesis have nothing to offer. I mean, the 3.5 is awesome, but it's not even close.
To the V8 beasts that are already on offer, and especially not even close to the likes of the 450 kilowatt and 850 newton metres from the V8 in the GLA 63S.
Sure, the prices reflect the difference, but the German counterparts have options for those who want to go further. the GV80 tops out at this V6.
That being said, the GV80 is a new model and I expect it to get more engine options in the future.
Maybe not one to confront each of the options from the competitors, but at least more than we have now. So what's it like to drive? Well, it can definitely be fun.
Power delivery is fast and smooth, and the 5.5 sprint to 100 is definitely more than enough, even for an executive sedan.
Let alone this behemoth.
Overtakes are easy, and the low-down torque means it feels even more capable than it is.
99% of the time, the GV80 feels like it has power on tap. Push the pedal and you just take off.
It merges on motorways with ease. It overtakes slower traffic in a few seconds and it cruises at motorway speeds with remarkable ease.
However, the highlight of the driving experience for me is the suspension.
Power and luxury add weight, and with a vehicle of this height that is geared towards comfort, it can result in a very uncomfortable body roll.
Control is awesome and you gain confidence really quickly. It's not a ferocious, wild beast.
But instead, this is a smooth, elegant gentleman that pampers you with comfort and relaxation, but also pleasantly surprises with strength, should there be any needed. What a combo.
Compared to the Germans, yeah, I'd like to try them back to back, but even that would be a problem.
With so many variants among the competitors, even suspension setups vary greatly, even within the same company. The GV80 benefits from the dedicated Australian suspension and handling tune, and this trim also gets adaptive suspension that reads the road using sensors and cameras and adapts damping forces in real time, which is amazing. From this point of view, choosing the best suspension setup of the 4 trim matching models would be a matter of preference and nothing else.
If I had to point out one thing about the GV80, it's that it's really geared towards comfort. And I think this is a good thing because it's what a lot of people are looking for.
The GV80 really does feel premium on the inside. It is one of its strong points. There are 4 wood trims to choose from. What's not covered in wood is bathed in plush leather or screens. Speaking of which, the infotainment screen has a diagonal of 14.5 inches. The head-up display stretches for 12 inches and the optional 3D cluster that comes with the luxury package, 12.3 inches.
If you follow us, I know you've seen the camera feed and the instrument cluster on the Kia, Hyundai and Genesis models lately, but I just have to say once again how awesome that is.
It really should be the feature that becomes the industry standard.
Now I'm going to talk about the overall interior design in a minute, but can I just say how awesome the second row is? You can fold, recline and slide for the perfect combination of comfort and space in the second rows. Look at this. The only thing you don't have is control over these air vents, but you do get them in the third row. So, you know, my mother-in-law is actually quite a backseat connoisseur. And I gave her a little spin in this and she sat in the back and she thought it was an absolute winner. Maybe that's a reason not to get this car.
Of course, if you want to see a more in-depth overview of this as well, just watch Simone's full review of the GV80. You'll find loads of features that we just don't have time for now.
So, the comparison. All of these cars make you feel really pampered when you sit inside. Sure, I mean the trims differ, but in terms of materials and fit and finish, they're really good in all of them. However, in terms of design, all of them will offer a fairly different direction.
For example, while I did love the direction Audi took after 2010 in terms of interior design, especially with the A8 D4, I have to say that this futuristic, designed with a ruler direction still hasn't really grown on me. It is plush, it is practical, the materials are awesome, it does look special, but I just can't say I'm a fan.
Deal with it, Audi fanboys, it's a matter of preference. And look, I actually love Audi.
As for BMW, the X5 interior, for example, always looked to me like they took the 5 Series interior and changed a few things. This does not necessarily make it bad. Some of those solutions were pretty nice actually, but it also doesn't really make it look special in any way. Now, the latest Mercedes GLE, huge connected screens, clear separation of sections, emphasis on materials in each of them. While some previous generations were not the best, to put it mildly, this one, at least for me, is the best looking of the mentioned lot. It is also a nice bonus to know that it is a copy of the interior of the GLS, which is one step above the GLE in terms of price.
So where does the GV80 stack up? I'm not sure if I consider it as good as a GLE or better. Simone put it really well in her review when she said,
"It looks like it borrowed hints from some of its European competitors, but still, this is perhaps the most original and compelling design we've seen from Genesis yet."
Just like the ride, it is heavily geared towards elegant luxury rather than the futuristic flair of the Q7, for example.
So, what's the verdict? Can the GV80 compete with the giants? Well, aside from the lack of beastly engines or hybrid solutions, Yes, it can.
Most buyers of vehicles such as these will look for elegance, safety, luxury, comfort, and reasonable ability. Very few actually buy the GLE 63S. Most settle for a more reasonable solution. So let's look at the pricing. MLP for a GV80 with a smaller 2.5 litre turbo starts at just over $90,000 and works its way up to just over $108,000 for this 3.5 litre turbo with all-wheel drive. All the German rivals have an entry option with a similar starting price of around $100K, but by the time you add options, you quickly see the price jump, and by the time you get to those higher performance variations, then it's a completely different pricing category. The GV80 fits that picture perfectly and delivers on all those fronts. If you prefer the sharp interior of the Q7, the GV80 will not be your choice. But if you want a luxurious, spacious cruiser of an SUV, it is a viable option, and in some, very tough competition.
But will it jump in amongst the big three? Well, that all depends on another thing that buyers at this level consider to be very important, and that's badge snobbery. Thanks for watching Cartel TV. Hey, this is my first shoot for 2021. It's a brand new year, and if you have but one New Year's resolution, make it to subscribe to our channel. It will be the best thing you do all year, I promise.